What's going on, world? Coming at you guys again. We got another quick video. Allegations and accusations. Let's talk about it. So it's 2026. We live in a modern society. I mean, like, everybody has a cell phone that's got HD camera and audio and video, super zoom, 1080p, etc., etc. So I understand, like, things that happened 20 years ago or something like that, to where the ability to record, whether video, picture, or audio, is super distorted and is no longer reliable because, to my understanding, the application of digital enhancement is using an algorithm which suggests the probability of application, which isn't definitive nor absolute. It is a guesstimate or a hypothesis, which, based off of some research after watching Robin Williams in an SVU episode, gave me the information as well as the education as to the lack of reliability through enhancement images, etc., etc. But as it stands today, again, because we are in 2026 and everybody has a cell phone. I mean, kids have cell phones with 1080p and video and audio and, all the rest of these things. There should be zero, absolutely zero circumstances and situations in today's day and age for an anonymous tip. Absolutely zero, right? Now, I can understand if the prosecution wants to hold a person who alleges or accuses another individual of an action in which may be immoral or illegal, and they themselves have been taken into witness protection or protective custody, or their identity has been preserved on the basis that they believe that if they were to expose their name and person, that it would be a threat on their life, then I can understand something like that, right? But as it stands right now, there is absolutely zero reason in today's day and age where a person can make an anonymous tip without some form of witnessing it personally, as well as having some type of information that could substantiate the claim in which is being utilized against another individual, right? This isn't the 60s, the 70s, the 80s, the 90s, the early 2000s, the 2010s. This is 2026. There is zero, I mean absolute zero circumstance realistically that an individual will have the capacity to witness something and not be able to have the capacity to record it on audio, record it on video, take a picture, something, right? That has you have the ability to utilize as material evidence to substantiate your claim. Because we've seen it time and again, and it's really been very, very prominent in the height of the sociological attacks upon primarily people of color by individuals that are of the female gender, whom are of the lighter pigmentation, in which are referred to as Karens. How many times have we seen quote unquote Karens, accuse a person of color for a crime that wasn't even happening? I mean, we have multiple movies out about this and TV shows, etc., etc. We went through the whole Me Too movement where we had women coming out accusing people of actions in which didn't happen, never occurred. We have so many instances and examples of individuals whose lives are not only being taken through the ringer and possibly destroyed. But we are $39 trillion in debt. And a lot of these anonymous tips and false accusations and false allegations, or accusations and allegations without any proof that can be substantiated or used as evidence to support this narrative, ends up being chasing a ghost. And it puts a higher strain on the criminal justice system, in which is already at its maximum capacity. You know, I've said this, and I've said this multiple times. I said this years ago. For individuals that are American citizens who get caught up in the criminal justice system and they're being pursued by prosecution, and they don't have the financial capital to retain an attorney, a lawyer, they have the Sixth Amendment right to be represented by a state-appointed attorney. These state-appointed attorneys live close to the bare minimum, and they have an exponentially high amount of cases in which they are assigned, and they do not have the time nor capacity nor efficiency to represent every single person in which they come across. So they primarily try to facilitate plea deals as much as possible, because they literally don't have the time to devote. They don't have their own law firm. They're individual representatives representing 20 clients at one time. There's no possible way that they can give out sufficient and adequate attorney advice for a defendant. Realistically, it's neglect and it's dereliction. It really is, because the amount of time that it would take for any lawyer that operates of his own accord without a team of individuals to represent an individual on a crime, regardless of how complex it is, the amount of time in which it would take in order to facilitate a defense in which every avenue as well as every effort was exhausted and facilitated, it would be impossible to do that as a defense attorney who's working for the state when they have 10 to 20 clients at all times. Could you imagine like going into the medical field, being in the hospital, and you know the normative concept of a doctor who's on call, like an emergency room physician? An emergency room physician maybe has 5 or 6 patients at one time, so they can actually definitively utilize their education and training as successfully as possible to give every patient the maximum outcome for life. When we have the criminal justice system, in which is right now being overly saturated and heavily influenced by false accusations or accusations without any type of evidence to support said false accusation, then not only do people's lives get ruined and destroyed, but we're also causing further inflation as well as spending taxpayers' dollars in an irresponsible manner. You know, it's a reason why they say the FBI or the federal government, federal prosecution, has like a 95 or a 98% conviction rate. It's because they take the time, they go through, they, check all the boxes. And then, when there's little to nothing left, then they pursue something. When it comes to state court, well, the reason most people don't take, or they have a low bar is because the system is overworked. It's completely overworked. A state court does not process as many cases as federal court. And there's a reason for that. It's a numbers game. And we as a country, as American citizens, are the people. When you go to court and the prosecution facilitates legalese on the paperwork to submit to the judge. It says the people, the prosecutors represent the people. They're acting in the best interest of the people, even when there's no victim, because a statute has been violated. But the individual who's the actual defendant is also one of the people. You don't lose your right just because you're being prosecuted for an alleged action, which hasn't been proven, which the evidence may not be there. So as we move forward, we need to bring some sense of morality back into the equation for all American citizens, because the reality of the situation is America needs every single one of its citizens to facilitate some form of support in order to maintain the safety, security, and functionality of the country. We have to continue to move forward. And in order for us to move forward, we need every single American to contribute. That is the reality. We must take care of our own. Two wrongs don't make a right. Everybody is flawed. Everybody makes mistakes. And at the end of the day, we have individuals in our society whom want to destroy other people for shits and giggles, or they're jealous or envy, or it could just be a very simple fact that some individuals, well, it's known as misery loves company. Some people just don't want to be on the bottom by themselves.